Welcome. I'm Nate Miller, and this is the Beer and Bellator show, where we like two things, beer and Bellator. In honor of Season 9 kicking off this Saturday with Bellator 98, we're going to be featuring a different beer of the week. Starting with our first one, Henry Weinhardt's Private Reserve. It's a Northwest-style lager. It's been brewed since 1856. I actually found it at the grocery store a little bit cheaper than Budweiser, so it actually is cheaper than most domestics. And I have to say, for the price being so cheap, it is actually quite delicious. Very hoppy flavor, very full. For a cheaper beer, it's not watered down. You get that with most domestics and the cheaper beers. It tastes like a watered down beer. But I have to say, it's a definite choice. And if it's in your area, definitely check it out. And yeah, that's our beer of the week for Bellator 98. Ah, that's good. So, now that business is out of the way, down to pleasure. If you guys hadn't guessed yet by the little intro I put together there, my favorite fight ever out of any MMA fight is Michael Chandler versus Eddie Alvarez, won for the lightweight Bellator championship. Some people, their favorite fight ever, they argue Shogun versus Henderson or Korean Zombie versus Leonard Garcia. Like, obviously, that's the most popular WEC fight. But those are really like slugfests, It's on the feet, just two guys with great chins swinging and swinging. And this was more than that. This was a technical brawl. Chandler versus Alvarez, like, it was like it's like poetry, They just answered each other. It was power versus speed. It was wrestling versus MMA wrestling, and it was just a great fight with so much drama back and forth, and I just fell in love with it. And then after this whole Alvarez situation occurred, where the drama between him and Viacom trying to go to the UFC, I really felt like it was never going to happen. I even said on Twitter a bunch. If you follow me on Twitter, I said many times how one of the greatest travesties in MMA is that Michael Chandler and Eddie Alvarez were never rematch. And I am so glad it worked out this way. I know some people were really rooting for Eddie, and I really was indifferent as long as he got paid and got to fight. But all that aside, obviously old news, they're rematching, and I couldn't be more excited. I mean, this is the fight I am most looking forward to in 2013. I don't really see any other fight that has happened or will happen that interests me as much. But that's me. That's what I like. Everybody likes something different. I don't judge you for being an Anderson Silva fan. If you're into the Chris Weidman rematch, by all means do that. I'm not that excited for it. I don't even think it's really necessary. But that's neither here nor there. And this is the Beer and Bellator show. So let's just get back to subject. Uh, I'm gonna put together a few small segments for you. This is some little things that I think will make you laugh. But if you know anything about me, I'm the artist formerly known as Mad Dog. And this is a little segment I like to call Mad Dog Moments, where I just try and put what happens into my brain into some kind of visual stimulus that you guys can absorb. And this is my best effort. So this is a step inside my inner thoughts. This is our segment, Mad Dog Moments. Eddie Alvarez and Michael Chandler are rematching. I should be happy about this. It's all I really wanted for quite a while. But it kind of takes all I know about MMA and puts it into a strange context of why did this happen and other things didn't happen. You know? It's like, I don't know. I really thought MMA would be legalized in New York before they ever rematched. I thought Kimbo Slice would get back in the mix, I mean, it's not just stuff like that. I mean, stuff outside. I really thought Condom Depot would make a comeback, Whatever happened to them? I gotta look that up. Write that down. CondomDepot.com. I thought Hulk Hogan would take over for Kool-Aid. Oh yeah, brother. Yeah, that'd be pretty dumb. I definitely thought I'd figure out what Wolf tickets were before the rematch ever happened. 2 months ago, if you had asked me what was more likely, Michael Chandler and Eddie Alvarez rematch, or Fallon Fox changes her mind about the sex change, switches back to a man and enters a monogamous relationship with Matt Mitrione, I would have picked the tranny Matt Mitrione mix. But seriously. I mean, I thought Pat Healy would put his $120,000 roach on eBay to make up for lost profits before I ever saw this rematch. Was that last picture of me looking like a deer? Hold on, go back to that. I will be releasing a detailed video with fight breakdowns and picks for Bellator 98, including the title fight with Alexander Shlemenko. But for now, we're just going to focus on the middleweight tournament featured on the card. You got 4 bouts: Justin Torrey versus Andreas Spang, Jeremy Kimball versus Perry Filkins, Mikel Parlo versus Brian Rogers, and Jason Butcher versus Jiva Santana. Obviously, this has taken some hits since Doug Marshall got hurt and Brett Cooper was bumped up to the main event, and then Dan Kramer cited an eye injury and has been pulled since from the tournament. So we have lost some of the larger names who competed in former tournaments, but still a lot of talent out there. I know a lot of people are looking at Brian Rogers, considering this is his 4th tournament, and this is kind of a big. He needs to win here. It's a must win for him, and if you got to think for him, if he doesn't win, he may not be getting another chance into a middleweight tournament. But then you also have Andreas Spang, who's heavily favored as well. Spang actually has a win over Brian Rogers and lost to now #1 contender Doug Marshall in the quarterfinals of the last tournament. But we're going to do a little segment now called Dark Horse, where I'm going to give one of these guys that you may not know much about the Dark Horse Award. He may not be #1 on your radar, but that doesn't matter. He's under the radar. He's flying beneath it. And for each tournament this go around, we're going to be doing a Dark Horse Award. So here's your middleweight Dark Horse. And the winner is Jason Butcher, 6-0. He actually started with an amateur career of 4-2 before turning pro. Then he won his first 3 professional fights by first-round stoppage. Then signed with Bellator, won his next 3 fights by first-round submission. Guy is a wicked guard, great striking, and tremendous wrestling. He's actually going to be coming up against Jiva Santana here in the middleweight tournament at Bellator 98. And although I do believe he will be an underdog according to the Vegas fight lines, I do think he can maximize wrestling and possibly make an upset and definitely prove to be the dark horse in this tournament, and would not be surprised to see him work his way to a title shot shortly. I know that most of the casual fans of Bellator don't really tune in to Spike.com to the prelims, and I have to say that's a mistake. I know that in the past they've been heckled and told that, like, oh, it's just local guys. It's like a smaller show when you go to it because they usually get, and they still do get a lot of local guys on the prelims. But they are fixing that. There's a lot more talent. I mean, on Bellator 98, there's actually 2 tournament bouts on there. There's also the Elder Pitbull brother is on there. And it's just getting better and better as it goes along. But there's always people to pay attention to. I mean, guys like Zach Cummings, Uriah Hall, people didn't really know who they were, and they were some of those guys that were on the Bellator undercard. And we made this little segment here called One to Watch. And every single card, I think that, especially on for season 9, there seems to always be one guy in the undercard that's really a guy you really should pay attention to because they are going to go someplace. And the winner is Mike Mucciatelli with a record of 5-0. Mike actually debuted as a professional in 2010 before taking a year away from the sport and then kind of returning with a vengeance, going 3-0 in 2012, including 2 wins in Bellator, which he currently resides at 3-0 in Bellator. He's kind of a submission specialist. All but 1 stoppage coming by way of submission, all first-round finishes. This guy is currently 3-0 in Bellator, and you have to assume if he gets a win on Saturday against Jeff Nader, he will probably be in the next light heavyweight tournament challenging for a title. And kind of what makes him so interesting is the fact that he's 6'5", which at 205, that's a tremendous height advantage over most competition. And using that correctly and using superior wrestling skills, he could go far. Make sure to check out all our content providers at the MMAmovement.com, the MMAanalysis.com, and the MMAreport.com. They all feature content that I provide. And make sure to check out my other video, which will be coming out just after this as soon as the Vegas lines come out. I'm going to be previewing Bellator 98, picks and bets. I'm currently sitting at 13 winning nights and 3 losing nights, so if you want to make some money, check out our YouTube channel. But besides that, thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show.